Hello and welcome to episode number 12 of the Belair podcast. Today we have a tremendous guest for you. Prior to becoming a transformative speaker, he was a headlining comedian for 25 years and has over 100 different TV and movie appearances, including Jimmy Kimmel, The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, Comics Unleashed, and many more. He now spends most of his time as a keynote speaker transforming audiences through his unique blend of comedy and transformation. In addition to leading his own highly acclaimed Evolving Out Loud live events, he has spoken with renowned teachers such as Eckhart Tolle, Jim Carrey, Michael Beckwith, Tony Robbins, and Deepak Chopra, just to name a few. He has spoken at Fortune 500 companies and big conferences such as GATE, Sun Valley Wellness Festival, Sedona Wisdom Days, and more. He joins us today to share some of his incredible insight, passion, and transformative comic wizardry. Welcome to the show, Kyle Cease.
Dude, that's awesome. I just think that every time I'm about to do anything, that intro needs to happen. Like if I go on a date with someone, you need to go up to her first and say, "Let me tell you a little about this guy who's coming to the table." You know, he's
nice. Did I get it? Good. Yeah. So I don't always nail him. I was like, okay, good. I was like, it
was good.
Good. Nice. Good.
The funniest part though is that the words like are across your screen or something because you could see you were reading it, but you were reading it like you read it great, but the words were like you were like, "Let me tell you about tonight's guest." Kyle, like your head went like 180 degrees. It was awesome.
Oh, did it? Yeah, because I do like notes. So I put the intro in the notes so I can read it, but it's still filming me. You know what I mean? So I have to I can't see obviously myself when I do it. So I'm gonna have to master it if I can just keep my face straight.
Yeah, like your teleprompter's like 90 feet long. Like it's just, or you're Canadian.
Or, perspective. If I went back a little bit, it probably would be less obvious. So
yeah, but it's great. I think it's cool. I mean, everyone's reading an intro because they got to introduce the person right? Like all the late night shows, you see it every Letterman, all those people when they'll be like, "All right, Paul, let me tell you about your next guest, our first guest," and you just see them going right into reading notes. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and the worst part though is because we were chatting a little bit before. Obviously, you came on. And I pushed play here. I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your name. I was like, I think it's Kyle Cease. But then as soon as I started, I was like, oh shit! Like I didn't ask him. Like I hope I get it right. I was like, I'm gonna find out really quick.
So while you're reading that's all you're thinking. Like read this right, and oh my God, is it Cease? Like the
yes. That's exactly what's happening. So I was like, okay, pay attention. I was like, it's just gonna happen. We'll hope for the best.
Now, what if you just said that while you were reading it? You're like, this guy's amazing. I'm worried I won't say his last name right. And you just you'd free yourself it'd be such a bizarre intro, but it'd be so amazing. Like it'd be so funny because it's like, and I don't quite know his last name, but he's a dear friend of mine. I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm horrified, but he did Fortune 500 companies. He's worked with Eckhart Tolle. I don't know his last name. I'm horrified. Here's Kyle Cease. Like,
just a question. It's best, man. It was like live. My friend does the Soul Feed podcast. Alex Kitt. He's a really awesome dude, and he's just like, I can't believe you do it live, man. He's like, you're really brave. I was like, man, whatever's gonna happen. You know, the cat comes in. He's been disturbing me since I've set up here. So there's a cat running around. It's just real life, man.
I think that you have a better advantage being live. Like that's. That we're in a world that's looking for as real and realistic as possible now, right? So the more possible mistakes, the more just realistic moments, spontaneity, it's really cool because you can't force and be fake anymore in anything. Like just overall, our BS meters are so high and we're so ready to, just see what the real thing is, and we can spot insincerity, and we're moving from a place of vulnerability and authenticity, and it's awesome,
Yeah, man, I totally agree. Just integrity and just realness. You know what I mean? It's like just whatever it is. I looked at your website. You have so much amazing stuff. One of them is the entrepreneurial thing you do, and you talk about authenticity a lot. But can you just explain to people who might not be familiar with you, like a little bit of your background, because it's a pretty awesome transformation story. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really lucky because I got to I got to have kind of many different dream careers, I guess. I started when I was a little kid doing stand-up comedy. I was born into a family where my grandma was a famous puppeteer. She was on the Carol Burnett show. My uncle was a prop man for the comedian Gallagher in the 80s. My other uncle is a Grammy-nominated jazz musician. Now, my parents weren't in the entertainment industry, but because of these, the world that I think that they came from, it was very normal if I wanted to be a performer. I think that it was, you know, it's, and I say that because I don't know that it's necessarily a genetic thing, but in other words, just that I was born into a world that wasn't trying to force me to become a doctor or a lawyer or just go to, you know, they enjoyed when I was funny and they supported me. I'm also a musician and stuff. And they loved those things about me and, helped, you know, and I always think to myself, if when I was funny, what would happen if my parents were just screaming like, shut up, I have a headache, you're not funny. Like, what helped this comedy come out? And the reason I say that is I truly believe that the more and more I think about it, I think that everyone has their own version of, but everyone there's a lot of people that are naturally funny and don't know it. Like if you've ever said at a restaurant when you're with your friends, and you've ever said anything just funny, just headliner level funny, you're just in a moment, you're riffing about an ex, or you're talking about the political system, and you say something and it just comes out amazingly, and everyone cries laughing. I think most people have experienced that once or twice in their life. And if that's happened, that means it's available, that we have it. We just haven't tapped into it. And the factor in why it worked was you were in a good mood. Nothing works when we're trying to make it work. But if we allow ourselves to instead more and more be a place of joy and have fun, you won't believe how much more productive things get. We've wired ourselves to think, I got to be straining and I got to be stressed, and that's productive. Productive is actually much more doing nothing sometimes and sitting and allowing these old, unworthy stories of yourself leave. And I'm going off on a big tangent here, but I think that just the fact that when I was a kid, when I said a joke, I got laughs from my parents and my family, made me see that I could do it. And I say that because I see that special quality in everybody in a different way. And often I get crap from people for saying that. They're like, you know, no, it's not the same, you know, everyone. Well, I don't know. I have friends that I've met that used to be tone deaf, and as time goes on and they connect to themselves, they can hear the notes differently and sing. And I think that we have a lot of talents that we bury because we're so in our head trying to make something happen manually, and we're cutting off our natural, amazing, creative thing. And luckily for me, when I was a little kid, I got right on stage as a child and performed in elementary school. I then performed in junior high, and I started doing clubs at like 12, 13, 14. At 15, I was kind of a middle act. And at 18, I was a headlining comic. And I would rent out high school theaters and charge like $5 a ticket or $10 a ticket. And you could come see me at the theaters, and was always just creative and I say that because that's something I also think we all have, is just this. Like when I was 15, I remember thinking, how do I make more money doing this? And that question is a very different question than what we ask ourselves usually now. Usually we go, why do I always do this? Why do I always pick the wrong person in a relationship? Why do I always screw it up? And when I just said, how do I do this better? I remember asking a comedian, like, how do comics make good money? And he goes, well, there's the Chamber of Commerce. Or, no, he said, you could do corporate parties. You could perform for company parties. And I remember thinking, oh, how do I do corporate parties? And I went home and I asked my mom, I'm like, where do corporations meet up? And she said, the Chamber of Commerce. And just instantly, I called the Chamber of Commerce and said, can I get the mailing labels for all the businesses? And then I made a flyer that said, having a corporate party, looking for entertainment, call comedian Kyle Cease. And I sent it out. And at like 15, 16, I'm suddenly doing corporates every night for crazy money, you know, doing Sears, Nintendo, Microsoft. And that idea was so obvious and right there. And that's just the next obvious step. That is available in all of us, but we disqualify that level of effortless thinking. And we instead go, no, there's got to be I got to go get an agent. You have to work for years doing it this way. And there's this real painful strain that comes along with making that happen. And that sounds like too much work for me, so I'm not even going to do anything. And for me, I just never had that. I just was like, it's very easy to do this. And people go, well, that's you. And the second they go, that's you, they disqualify themselves from doing it. Like, and it's not, it's any of us. And now my passion is showing people that. And just in stand-up comedy, life is helping people laugh at their problems, and then eventually start to realize, dude, all your problems aren't even real. They're all lies in your mind. So then your goal becomes freeing people from their problems. And sometimes you do it with comedy. But so I started doing comedy as a kid. And then when I was 19, I took a casting director's class, who's someone who finds people for movies, and was funny in the class. And then a few weeks later, the movie 10 Things I Hate About You used that casting director. And she brought me in for an audition. And I didn't have a headshot or agent or resume or anything, but I didn't know that was a problem. I just went into the room and was me, and then booked 10 Things I Hate About You. Booked this huge, movie. Booked a 6-week role as this character named Bogey Lowenstein in the movie, the kid who threw the party. And then immediately I was like, I'm going to move to LA. And my friends were like, that's crazy. You'll be back here in a few weeks. I bump into a friend I shot 10 Things I Hate About You with. He introduces me to a friend of his who's doing a movie called Not Another Teen Movie. I tell that guy, can you get me an audition for that? Once again, no headshot, resume, anything. And I ended up getting this really crazy part called the slow clapper, which is a recurring role in the movie. There's always someone that tries to get people to clap. My character shows up throughout the movie trying to get people to clap, but it's always the wrong time. You might have seen it, but
that's awesome. I have seen that. So I'm just like, as you're saying this, I'm remembering the movies. I'm like, oh my God, that's you. That's so good.
Yeah, the slow clap. And so now I got 2 movies under my belt, no agent, no anything. And I just couldn't believe how easy this was. And then I heard a lot of people say, it's not that easy, you just lucked out. And I believed that for a while and started thinking I need to get acting classes. And then that started screwing me up, because acting classes had that type of thinking, like you got to do it right and you got to do exactly what they say, and you get all scared, and now you're in fear and you're not in your crazy, amazing, infinite creative place. Mm-hmm. And I also, though, because of the 2 movies and I was a comic, I ended up doing 1,000 colleges in my 20s. Like, I'm not kidding. More colleges than ever. It was just living on the road, touring, and headlining colleges and comedy clubs, and spending, 2/3 of every year in my 20s on the road, flying from city to city. And it created an exhaustion and an awareness and all kinds of different things. And the first shift that I had was, at one point I was performing so much and it was going really well that I didn't create new material. I could just go on stage in my sleep and do my hits and be fine. And I believe if you don't keep creating, your mind will creatively sabotage you. So even if we're doing great externally, we still got to keep on our own soul's edge by creating new things, because that's what we are, and our nature is creative beings. And a lot of times we go, well, I don't need to, because the external is taken care of. I'm getting enough money, I'm getting enough love from outside. And because of that, my mind got bored. And whenever you have a horrifying thought, if you're going to a job interview and you're like, what if I crap on the desk or whatever, your mind is really creative. And if you don't steer your own ship, it's going to creatively come up with anxiety-riding thoughts and how things can go wrong. So that was the start. All of a sudden, at 15 years of being a comic, I got stage fright and anxiety, because my mind was creating, what if you faint when you're on stage? And what if and then this became this snowballing, horrible thing. And then I had to learn how I thought. I had to learn the way that I was thinking, and because it got so crazy. So I started studying how we think and started going, okay, every day I was worried that I would faint when I'm on stage. It's really crazy. And I just thought to myself, I got to think of something bigger. So the first shift in my life was when I learned how to stop thinking about what I don't want. This is basic law of attraction, and this isn't where I am now. I'm in a freer, crazier place. But the first stage was me realizing you can shift your thinking. Stop thinking of what you don't want and think of what you do want. How can I hope I don't faint is going to make you picture fainting. If I think, how can I have the #1 Comedy Central special? Then all of a sudden I have a new vision. So I started working towards that, and all of a sudden did. And I spent a few years from 2006 to 2009 achieving massively, Comedy Central specials and having the #1 thing and getting to do a lot of achieving massive things. And that was cool. And then the big illusion that I learned that I was under later is when something happens, I'll be happy.
Nice.
Every person watching this knows that you have a little bit something right now that you could think of. If I only got that person, if I broke up with this person, if I got that job, if I could get out of this addiction, if I could get in the moment more, I'll be happy. It's not when something happens, I'll be happy. It's when I'm happy, things will happen. When I'm okay with myself completely. Because after achieving so many things, I lived in the future just going, okay, I'll get this, I'll get this, I'll get this. And was constantly a slave to the things, hoping that I got something even better. And never enjoying what I was getting, and actually getting more and more depressed as achieving more and more things, because I'm looking for this illusion of happiness and you'll never freaking get it. And so I started realizing that thought of when that happens, when I get that love from my parent, when I get that thing, is a lie. And my job is to accept all of these fears, love myself now. What happens is all of a sudden those things aren't things you're chasing, they start to chase you. And you don't care because you're already complete and you're happy, period. But you create a space where it's not exciting for these things to come into your life. It's normal. It's not exciting for you to be able to have an amazing career. It's how life should be. It's not this thing that you're not worthy of having that you go, I can't believe it, that girl likes me. I can't believe that I got that. That's normal. And so life for me now has not been about making it happen, but we're like helium balloons that are always trying to go up. And the string is just caught on stuff that we can't control, but we try to control. The biggest problem in our life is we try to control what we can't control, and we don't control what we can. We're wasting our time trying to control what Justin Bieber's hair is like, or what someone said about us, or what the football team did, or what is happening in politics, or our past, or what someone said about us. And we're not controlling our intention, our connection to our soul, our acceptance of this moment, our health. You know, we're controlling things that we don't have to actually take responsibility for. We can just instead complain about Donald Trump, but not, you know, actually take on ourselves. And if we just stop trying to control what we can't and take on, holy crap, I can connect more to myself. I can meditate a couple hours a day. I can go to the gym. I can love myself. I can accept this moment. All of a sudden, the external world, it doesn't matter what's going on there. And weirdly, the byproduct is it starts changing as you connect to yourself more and more. Because the more love you are, the more the whole world goes, how the hell did you do that? And they all want to do that. So your awareness with yourself is actually the highest level of currency you have. Your awareness is a higher currency than money. Awareness brings in more money, and it weirdly doesn't need to spend it on addictions because you're connected to yourself more. And so life now for me hasn't been chasing anything. It's just been connecting with myself. And we do these things called evolving out loud. Because I'm always evolving, I just happen to do it into a microphone. But this is about my growth and me extroverting these revelations that I'm having. And it's the byproduct it's helping people, and it's me at my highest level of authenticity and my highest level of freedom. And the content that comes through is the edge of what I need to hear from myself. So it's actually a revelation for me almost every time I'm talking. And the byproduct is people are hearing that because it resonates with them, because we're all actually coming from the same place when you unravel the BS that's up here, and you understand that if you take the old story out of our past, you and me, Obama, a homeless person, everybody, Justin Trudeau,
Canadian reference.
we're all and when I was telling you stories of different ages that I was like when I was 18, but you're Canadian, so when I was 16.4 decibels of years. But we're all the same thing. And when you realize you're just this moment, then you can create and receive on a level that's endless. Our problem is we spend our whole life sabotaging the greatness that we are. We're butterflies, and we're doing everything we can to avoid the cocoon. Or like, I want to stay a caterpillar. I want to be the number one caterpillar. I want to be a victim. You're a butterfly. Get in the freaking cocoon. Stop watching movies and go, or watch them too, but like, just accept who you are, because it's amazing.
Man, I'm a big talker, but just listening to all that was just like just bang on, like truth bomb, truth bomb, truth bomb, truth bomb. Like this is so good, man. Hold on, I've only done this once before. Killed it, man. That was beautiful. It's interesting. You said so many things there that I have direct experiences with, help people with, because when you break down some of these things, like what the first thing that I noticed was when you started doing things in your early years, you were getting a reality aligned with your belief system, with your truth. It wasn't hard for you to book these events or do these things because the thought wasn't entering your mind, right. So it couldn't limit you.
Right.
So then your reality is now mirroring your belief system,
right.
And it's working out perfectly until somebody imprints that shit. Sorry for this cuss word. And then now you're limiting, right? And that's kind of what our society and our culture is doing, is implanting limitation when we're actually unlimited.
Yes.
And we're connected. So then you had a different experience. And then what I also liked is as you're going through your shift or transformation, you were always just doing your thing and following your heart and doing what you wanted and following your bliss. Then it started to change and you got a little bit anxious and things changed. And that's also the gift, because we talked a little bit about like the darkness. So if you look at that challenge and then it's like, like why are you ruining this? Why I'm not resisting it. And then you shift into something completely different. Not really, but you take all of those skills that you had and now they're perfect for what you're doing. It's just only like, oh my God, like I'm used to being on stage. I can make people laugh. I understand how the human mind works. I understand myself more. And now I'm just shifting my focus and I'm taking everything that I've learned along the way and I'm just applying it to a new area, because I don't want to just hold on, and you got to keep creating. And if you're in a place where you're waking up and your life sucks and you're really depressed, it's like the way that I kind of see it is it's like your heart is a band of source, right? And you've got your mission, and it's nice when it's straight. There's no tension. You've got some slack. So then if you start like beating people up and you get into the Hells Angels and you do all this thing and you're supposed to be something else, and you're pulling this straight line with slack until you get to the point where it's just going to explode your life, boom, and get you back into like, at least like, oh my God, like just explode it. Like stop trying, you're pulling too far over here and it's causing this pain and you feel it. So if you're waking up and you are in bliss and in certainty and in connection, then you're definitely more in alignment. And that's the real key thing. I think that you have one of your gifts, I would say, would be the ability to be and feel into alignment, which is a big challenge for people. Do you have any kind of tips or tools for like how that comes so easy for you to just really trust and move forward in the way that you do? Because I think that is a little bit rare for people to have that ability.
Well, there's a difference between knowing something intellectually and experientially, right? That it's your it's body's truth versus that you can just go, yeah, I know that I'm the moment, or I know that I'm just love, or I know that I'm free, but I still got this problem I want to bitch about, right? Okay, so we all have that. Now, that's the same as if, let's say you're really overweight, you're 400 pounds, right? You're 500 pounds, or kilogram. What are you guys? What's the
pounds? Kilograms is the UK.
Okay. Is that the UK? I didn't even know if kilograms. I didn't even know if that was a word.
Yeah, you say kilograms in the UK.
Oh, kilograms. I said kilograms.
Oh, kilograms, you bastard.
Just baby food. Okay. Because we have Gerber. I don't know if you have that out there. You probably have decibels, baby food. This joke is so stupid. But my point is,
get out of that.
Let's say you're really overweight. A 400-pound person knows intellectually that they could be 200 pounds, right? They understand that they could do that. And what's the difference between if they know that they could do that and if they do that? They're going to the gym and they're eating healthy, right? So people hear me talk, or they hear this stuff and they understand, and they read these transformational books and stuff, and they understand intellectually, yeah, I know that I'm the moment, or I understand that I could be in that place. I have to do the equivalent of going to the gym every day and do something that takes me more towards my truth and is my soul's version of going to the gym. Every day I wake up and I sit for a couple hours. Sometimes I break the time up. Sometimes I do it different times of the day, but the circumstances in our life are a giant movie. And we think that we're in the movie, but we're just watching a movie, but we're really in it. Like we're into it a lot, right? And so when I sit and I close my eyes for 2 hours, right, all kinds of thoughts come up, right? And I'm sitting here watching this stuff, and it's going, well, I can't do this for 2 hours, and what am I going to do, and whatever. And I realize at one point, these things are beliefs that I have based on my past story. And if I just stay watching them, what happens is they start to fall apart, because I'm not the thought, I'm the one looking at the thought. And the second I realize I'm the space that the thought's in and not the thought, and then my job is to accept that thought. Because usually when we have a thought, we resist the thought, and that's what keeps it there. Your resistance to your thought is what keeps your thought there. If you have a thought come up and goes, what if they don't like me? And then you follow it with, awesome. What if it doesn't work? Cool. What if I screw this up? Great. It goes away, because the thought can't work in your acceptance of it. So when I sit there and I meditate, I have all these thoughts show up, and I don't meditate the way you've been hearing meditation. I just sit in a comfortable position and I don't need to say Om, and I don't have to do this stuff, and I don't have to, even when they say, when you catch yourself thinking something, bring your attention back to here. Screw that. You're thinking something. Check it out. Stay there and watch it, right? Like, you don't have to bring your attention back, because that's the control freak part of you that's avoiding what's trying to come up. And so for me, I don't even believe in that. I just sit there and allow whatever is there to be there. And the more I allow it, the more I start to leave from being here to the one that's here watching this. And then eventually that voice gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And I'm the space that these thoughts are in, and not the thoughts themselves. Now, people say to me, well, God, if you do that, you have so much stuff you have to do. You're not going to get anything done or whatever. You get so much more done, because first of all, you don't take on things that only the people pleaser part of you would have taken on. In other words, we wake up and we think who we are as our past. If you think who you are as your past story, if you think who I am as someone who makes $40,000 a year, or for you guys, $38,000 a year, or 42,000, I don't know which is better, but I just keep wanting to make sure that.
Oh yeah. Dude, our dollar's garbage right now. It's just in the States, and like, it's basically monopoly money. So that joke is super valid. Like, one Canadian dollar is like, it's pretty much monopoly is nothing.
We're not, it's, the only reason I know that is because a magazine says it's $1 more. Like,
yeah.
Mitch Hedberg had a joke where he said, if you can convince someone that they're in Canada, that they're from Canada, you can charge them $1 more for a magazine.
That's a Mitch Hedberg joke?
Yeah, he used to say.
Oh my God, I love Mitch Hedberg.
$5.95, $6.95 Canada. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh man, he's R.I.P. Mitch Hedberg, man. He is amazing.
I worked with him a ton too. It was great.
Did you? Oh, yeah. What was he like as a real person?
There's a CD that they released after he passed away called "Do You Believe in God?" or "You Believe in Gosh?" Something like that. I can't remember it, actually. I feel bad. I can't remember it, what the actual title is. But that set was recorded. I opened for him in that set, and so I remember that night. And that was very close to when he died. It was maybe a few weeks before he died or something like that. But he was awesome, man. I know that fame, and I don't know his story at all in the personal world, like what he was experiencing. I just worked with him in a club several times. But, there's being a comic and doing what we do, now I can just translate it to me and my interpretation. Like, You know, there's a lot of parts of you that think, I better not screw this up because my life's getting bigger and all these external things are happening. That's why the shift had to happen for me. I think sometimes when you have a lot of abundance too, people think that lack, a lot of times it's amazing when people can overcome lack. It's also hard to overcome abundance. It's a hard to child stars, we lose them a lot because the whole world kept throwing them love, you know? Mitch Hedberg was an absolute genius though. It's a side note, but.
He was, man. Yeah, he really was. Well, there's so many questions that we could even go down the line of just, you know, comedians, because they're a special breed of person. They see the world a little bit differently, and that's their kind of job, is to bring new perspectives in a way, you know, for people to understand it. As a side note, I know that you had another interview. I would love to keep going, but I know you have other obligations. So
we're rescheduling him. That's fine. And I want to just go back to one thing that I left them in, because I made a side joke and then we went off on Mitch Hedberg, but I was saying that if you think who you are based on your past is, I'm someone who makes $40,000 a year, let's say, or 20,000, whatever, pick a number.
Yep.
If someone offers you $1 million, that's death to who you are. You will sabotage that opportunity. Whether it's you'll accept it and then overspend it. Lottery winners go broke all the time because they think who I am is this victim story, and I got a lot of love from my friends for this thing. So when you do the inner work, when you meditate and you connect, and I sit there for 2 hours a day, the old unworthy stories that I have about myself show up in front of me, I accept them, and then they leave, and then I'm this moment. And when I realize that I'm this moment, you, me, any human being has the same ability to receive and create on infinite levels. If you think who you are is the past story, you'll only create on the limitation of your belief of that level of you. So the biggest vision you have for yourself for next year, for instance, like the biggest thing you could think, I make millions of dollars, I'll have this, whatever, is nothing compared to what you could do, because your vision includes your past story of you. It includes your limitations. And if you go and you surrender to that, you're just this moment, and create on your edge and love in your edge, you will create so much more for the world and learn exponentially so much more about what you are every day on a much higher, faster level. So that's what I do. I take my mind to the gym, and people go, I can't do that because I got to make money, I got to work. Dude, you have so much more time and so much more money and so much less addictions to spend the money on. And you find your soul in that. It's crazy.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, again, there's so many points in there that I want to touch on. Well, the meditation for me, that's something that there's fundamental, for me, like simple fundamental shifts in consciousness. If you can't clear your mind, like if you cannot clear your mind or at least get to a state of peace, then you're not operating, like it's a big shift. And so what's that?
I always say if you won't, because people use I can't as the way to not. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, totally. And
you are that clarity. Like, you know, it's like the analogy I use, I hope you don't mind me interrupting, but
no, go ahead.
Well, if an actor played a character since he was 3 years old, right? The actor would think he's the character. Like if Gene Wilder played Willy Wonka, right? And then Willy Wonka, then here's Gene Wilder like going, I'm worried about the Oompa Loompas, and people are like, dude, that's not even real. That's just a thought you've created. And then Willy Wonka's like, I got to figure out how to find my Gene Wilder. It's like, you are Gene Wilder. It was Gene Wilder that said that. You are that.
Totally, man. That's good. I'm glad you went there, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you, is to say that analogy, because it's so interesting, and it is through being or the willingness to quiet your mind. Meditation's a big practice for me as well. And to understand these things, it's going, like you said, from thinking to knowing. You know, right. It's like, you can tell me something like intellectually that is anything, but when I go to that space, it's like a deeper knowing, and it's more knowing of who and what the heck that I am. You know, when it transcends my ego of Matt Belair, of whatever I'm trying to scheme to achieve. You know, it's like it's all ridiculous. Like one of my friends was like, hey man, like when I was trying to get my book, because my book's been a pain in the ass just logistically, and he's like, yeah, like don't worry, you're gonna like do well and sell lots of books. I was like, man, I'm like totally perfect right now. Like I don't need to sell a bunch of books to be happy. Like I am stoked. Like, like there's no external thing that's going to give that to me. You have to give it to yourself. And when you go and do these practices like meditation, this is when you're going to get those big realizations. And one of yours, like you said, the big illusion drop is when I get this, then I'll be happy. And that's all outside. It can never be created from outside. It's always within. You can be, and it's all perspective, but only you can connect with who you are and your source or your divinity or whatever it is. But that's when, and you keep saying the mind, and that's one thing that I'll say a lot too, is the mind is what creates the problems. There's no problems.
It's fixing the problems it created. It's so funny. It's like overcoming its problem. It's like when I'm about, in the old days, I'd be about to go on stage. I'm like, I'm going to make this work. I'm like, why am I getting into a zone? Did I just say, before that, maybe my mind went, what if you screw this up? And it's like, okay, I got to like your mind can be such a dick. Like, it's like having a coach that just goes, you're a piece of shit. Okay, let's overcome that.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, I didn't even think I was a piece of shit till you said that.
Totally. Your mind is a dick. And when you talked about going from what you don't want to what you do want, one of my mentors, Michael Lozier, wrote one of the books, The Law of Attraction. And that is just such a huge shift, especially when I teach in sport. And you would know this, but it's so easy and relatable for sport to me. Is like if I'm teaching someone how to do a backflip, don't think about falling on your head. You got to think about landing the trick. And then our mind is such an asshole. It's going to show you all the different ways you can mangle yourself if you want to try this thing. And that's what happens with our hopes and dreams. That's what happens with what we want to do from our heart. It's like, oh yeah, try that. But just fractals, infinite torture, It's like, why is that the programming that we get? And one of the ways to unhinge that programming is meditation. You know what I mean? It's such a fundamental practice. And I love how you're doing it, because so many people ask me how to meditate. I was like, just sit down. Just sit down. There's a funny comic, and I got this from one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's workshops. He does some pretty amazing stuff. And it's just this comic, and it has a dog. It says, just sit, that's it. Just sit. Like that's it. And if you can do that, that's going to the gym. And that's the mental squats. And that's kind of how I explain that as well. It's funny you use that analogy, because when I'm trying to teach people anything around anything, like having more fulfillment, more happiness, creating something, I was like, this is the mental squats as meditation. If everybody in the world wanted strong legs, and you and I know that you just do 5 sets of 5 squats. And when I walk around with strong legs, because you can see in your tone of voice and in your life reflection that you have a sense of peace, and it's not false. It's very authentic. Now, my life is, I have a great sense of peace, and there's a whole tons of challenges, but most of it is pretty awesome. Some of it is very challenging, like I go through it like, oh my God, I'm in a super challenging situation. And I'm like, well, what am I going to learn from this? How am I going to deal with it? But it's just some sort of fun, amazing ride that I'm going through. But I'm learning more about myself. I'm not trying to acquire things, although things are nice. I'm trying to acquire more awareness. I want to wake up and do what I love most, and be passionate about what I'm doing, and know who the heck or what I am. And I know it's not the ego. Like, I know it's not this mental formation of who I am. And I'm really curious to see how far that rabbit hole goes. Right. And it's just really unraveling.
Well, and every single thing that comes up, every challenge, every time you have a problem, it actually just proves that you weren't you for a second. In other words, what you are never has a problem. Your expectations get broken. If you had, so a challenge just proves you had an expectation there. Like if a relationship falls apart, people always say, that person broke my heart. No, they didn't. They broke your expectation. You had an expectation you were going to be with that person forever. They broke it, and now you're closer to your heart because you fell apart. And our past, our story of our past, our false identity that we bring in, that we say who I am is, this story from my childhood that has this, and then something happens that breaks that story, or your false presentation of yourself to someone, and then they call you out on it. The only real challenges we have never are to us. They're to our characters. And I love when I have a problem because I'm like, oh my God, I was living a lie up until that second. And I get to find even more of what I really am. Like, what lie was I in to create that problem, and what's waiting behind it to unravel once I identify that lie and knock it down too.
Oh, dude. And when you said that, I just had kind of a click for me. You know, there's a difference between kind of like the way that you and I and some other people are operating. A lot of people, they don't want to look at what can be unraveled, where our intention more is like to figure out every single illusion and mental issue and thing about us. Like we want to break it down, you know. We don't want to keep, a lot of people really want to keep it the same. And one of the patterns that a common pattern is victim mode, right? That's a story. So what stories, you know, if somebody can give me that story from myself, I'm so grateful. And like you said, it's like a perspective, like, all right, yes, you know what I mean? And you're like, boom, knock it down. Because you don't know where it's going to end. How many of these buggers are going to have to punch out, you know, like, oh, damn, another one. That one sucked. I've had that one since I've been 4, son of a gun. Like, that one sucked. You know what I mean? Sweet. You know what I mean? So a lot of people aren't wanting to look at that stuff. And that's, I guess, I think you touch on this a little bit, is the darkness, right? And, you know, or that inability to look at what might not be pleasant. But if you can kind of go into that stuff, be real and authentic with yourself, you're really now pulling out all this weight, so then you can be lighter and really grow. But you got to look at it first, unfortunately.
Yeah. In fact, I'll add how, I don't know, I mean, I understand you're a different country, so I don't know how much you guys are following our politics.
But buddy, it's so fun for me. Again, my political views are different than the regular Joe, but I was in the States. It's like some sort of amazing like show of ridiculousness. It's just like, it's just so, it's like a comedy. It's like, it can't even believe it's real. If you were like an alien coming down, right, and you're just hovering above and you're looking, it's like, oh yeah, well, hey, you know, explain to him, yeah, bro, this is USA. It's one of the most powerful countries in the world, biggest army, all this stuff. These are the 2 numbnuts running for president. Like, we don't structure our system having the most intelligent, kind, compassionate, like teams of people supporting each other as a society. And this is where I'm like, the whole thing has to break. It's that system is broken. Like, even if it were just me, and I think I can do a good job, which I think I could, if it were just me, I would want the best team around me. And we would use group decisions. Like, you know, that's what you need. You need the best team. We need a new system. And I think that we can't fight the old one. I think we need to somehow come together as a community and transcend this. That's my rant.
What I was going to say is a revelation that my team and I were sitting talking last night, actually, that we had about Donald Trump. And it was so big. It was an understanding so much bigger that, like, you know, I don't know about you, but, and you might not have cared as much, being not that you're not in America, but like, we had Bernie Sanders filling stadiums out here, right? You know,
yeah.
And all the progressive mindset is, we got to get Bernie Sanders in the office. And you can see that would be really big. Now, you and I were just talking about the darkness in us that needs to be looked at, right? And if you have this anxiety in you, you can't just go achieve number 1 and ignore the anxiety. You have to deal with the anxiety. And if you look at the world as one person, and you see that there are issues of anxiety, even though, like, you and I have understood this clearing and this thing and this accepting of ourselves, and we're still doing the work, but we're expecting the world to be moving the way that we are, right? And there's this giant bunch of pain in our world, and all of us, to an extent, have a lot of, some of us more than others, but some of us have narcissism. Some of us don't give enough compassion to the world. Some of us are seeing, you know, other people as not as worthy as we are. Some of us are racist. Some of us are hateful. There's all these issues inside of us, right? And I really had this moment where I was like, wow, the universe is so much better than I thought. Because to me, the big win would be Bernie Sanders gets in. But in America, there's still 50% of the country that are still totally racist and dumb, and in this place, sorry to be mean, but like, that are, I want to say not aware of their potential is a better word, because I don't mean it with judgment. But there's people in this country that have these self-hatreds, that still have these things. Donald Trump is the biggest fucking mirror in the world. This guy is saying things that many people are thinking quietly. And you are either obsessed with this guy, which means that you just went from a repressed person to an angry person, which is a step forward. Because all the things that you've been hiding about yourself, now you're bringing to the light. They might not be good things, but at least now you're not in a repression with yourself. Now you're bringing it out so we can have a discussion about what you have to say. And you have this opportunity to start freeing it. Or you're hating Donald Trump, and you can know that anytime you hate anything, that's because they're shining a light in you of something you don't like about yourself. We only passionately hate things in people that we don't like about ourselves. At my event, I ask people all the time, tell me a quality you don't like in people. And they'll say, I hate when they're exaggerating. I hate when they're late. I hate when they're narcissistic. Nobody says murderer. Isn't that weird? Because no one is a murderer in the audience. They don't like the qualities that they have. And so what is fascinating is Donald Trump is this guy that's helping mirror that group of people. And we can't shift into the full paradigm until that other half of the planet is looked at and seen, while at the same time, all of us, no matter where we are, still got more narcissism to clear out, still have more, compassion to feel, still have more acceptance of ourselves to have. So Donald Trump is screaming in a megaphone like a crazy person, all of these things. So that's getting seen, while simultaneously calling out the corporate crap that's going on with Hillary. And so he's calling out, all of that stuff and all the corruption that's going on. And meanwhile, Bernie was filling stadiums and showing people that are in their progressive mindset that they can be a leader and change the world. And he probably just planted the seeds for 10,000 Bernies or Martin Luther Kings or whatever. And Donald Trump is showing up right after the contrast of Obama, who set the bar higher in that place. And now Donald Trump if Donald Trump was following George Bush, it would be like, well, that's the same. Like Obama set a bar higher and raised our standards. So it's fascinating, because what I'm saying is this looks like a clearing on a much bigger scale to me than if Bernie just went in and we ignored all the pain that a lot of people are in. And so to me, it's shining a light on all of the areas. And that's what you have to do in yourself. If you're feeling pain, there's an issue, there's a part of you that you haven't accepted about yourself. And our job is to be a space to accept in ourselves everything, because you can't really move forward until all those things are taken care of. And when you finally accept in yourself that thing that happened to you, or that thing that you did, or whatever, and you learn how to transcend into what you really are, that issue will always be there. And as I said earlier, my friend Glenn Morshower says, if you pee in one part of the pool, you pee in all of the pool. So if there's a part of you don't like, that's carrying over into your career, that's carrying over into your finances and your relationships and everything. And our job through the meditation is to let whatever the hell comes up, come up, because your light doesn't shine by you avoiding your darkness. It's from you embracing your darkness. The more of your darkness you embrace, the bigger your light that's going to be.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I love all that. And I totally agree with that, because, some of the teachers, the best teachers are the most challenging ones, right? Mm-hmm. So as everyone is looking and having this opinion, a lot of people will say the darkest time of my life is now my greatest gift, all that kind of thing, because it's like forcing them, growth is not easy. Yeah. A lot of the time. So you look at this thing and you're like, oh my God, and this is serious stuff. So it's serious reflection of the mass consciousness, and it's a serious reflection of your own consciousness. And for me, it's all an individual journey. A lot of time with somebody, they'll be saying things like, oh, I wish I could, but, or this guy, or they, a lot of theys and thems. And I was like, whenever you say them, just say I. Like they're not this, but just say I. And then you're like, oh, okay. Then you realize you're going to get the mirror of your own reality, your own thoughts, your own, and maybe some sort of soul lessons that you needed to do that's beyond us, who knows, right? But if it's there, it's yours. You know what I mean? And like, that's the part of the mirror that you got to like scrub, okay, like how am I going to deal with this? So one person can, like right now, you have people making the choice to go to war and be in the military, Canadian military, which is very, very small, shooting hockey pucks at bad guys. And, you know, you guys, like, I was just in Vegas and I saw like military jets fly. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I was actually kind of afraid. I was like, holy shit, like, boom, like fucking like 50 crazy, just death machines. And I was like, look at this. Like, oh my God, like what? So there's going to be a reality where, you know, some guy is going to war and he's shooting people and he's dealing with that karma and he's going through his whole thing and all that. I don't need to make that choice. You know what I mean? I'm going to make my own reality. I'm going to make my own thing. And that's what I'm going to deal with. And if something comes into my reality, well, then maybe that was something that I had to deal with for whatever, but I'm going to accept it. 100%. And I'm going to deal with it as much love and compassion and wherever I'm at, knowing like, you know, I like, this is mine to deal with. But I know what you're touching on a little bit before, I think was, like creation, like we're either creating by default or by choice. And a lot of that has to do with our belief system. So if we can kind of direct our intentions, right? You know, keep, you know, like I want to know myself more. I want to, you know, what definitions we're living under, right? Like making money is hard. Getting an acting gig in Hollywood is hard, right? Or you're like, I love this. I'm going to go do this ignorantly with, you know, no headshots because it's like really cool. And I think that with your mindset, had it not worked out, you would have just slipped into something else awesome, right? You know? And then so maybe someone else's individual challenge is so different. So it's we're all on our own levels, and it's interesting when you talk about the lottery. There's a study that they do where people win the lottery, a year later they go back to the same level of happiness. Yeah. Right. So they have this peak and it goes up, and then they go right back down. So what the hell does that mean?
Actually,
and another one.
Oh, the amputee one? Because they did a study where they took a lottery winner and an amputee and found out that like a year later they were at the same level of happiness. Like both of them, you know, whether you have a high or a low, whatever, those are circumstances and what you are.
Oh, wow.
Self. Yeah. I thought
cool.
you were saying.
I didn't know that. Yeah. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. And I think it's just like, it's our own battle, you know, within our own belief systems, understanding ourselves, and moving forward. But you can see now we're now coming to, you know, one of the ways that I've heard the 2012 thing explained to me, because I definitely believe there's some sort of energy juice going on. There's some sort of juice going on. And I don't know exactly what it is, but we've got Mayan calendar stuff. We've got, you know, crazy stuff going on in the pyramids. If you really look into it, it's like, it's interesting. But the simplest way that I had it put to me, and I was like, oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense. For the first time in a long time, the global mass consciousness is gonna go a little bit 51% towards more positivity, to more community, to more collaboration, to more let's fix this. And we've done it through necessity by effing it up so damn hard, by being like, the planet is in big trouble. People are very, very suppressed. We are murdering each other. People don't have enough food to eat. Like we got to like rewrite this. Now through this challenge, we can unite and we can start to come together, and we can start to kind of make a culture within our communities, and then our cities, and then our states and countries in the world just make a little bit more sense.
Yes.
Because a lot of this doesn't make sense.
Snowballing exponentially fast. Our communication with each other, just how many viral videos are out that are permission to change and transform, and how many in all areas. I mean, the control systems are collapsing so fast right now. And there's a great blog I read about how the Brexit thing was like this glitch in the matrix, where we suddenly realized like everything fell apart in one night all of a sudden, like the whole world. Like when England broke away from the European Union last weekend, you know, that it was saying that the European Union is still a construct in our mind that we made up. And it's just this thing we believed and were worshiping or something. And then when it fell apart, like the whole thing falls apart. And it was like a matrix moment for us. That it was it's the Truman Show moment when the light falls from the, you know, set, and all of a sudden Jim Carrey, like that kind of happens. And that's happening all over. There's so many of that. It's just all the cracks are happening, and there is this shift. And I heard that, and that does make sense, whether you believe in the Mayan calendar or anything. Like there is an awareness that has snowballed faster and faster and faster since 2012. That then, I mean, it was probably faster before that, but there does feel like a tipping point of hope and possibility that overall does feel like in the last 4 years has just exponentially been skyrocketing. I'm really curious. I mean, I should just let it keep doing it and enjoy this now, but I am curious what it'll be like in 5 years, because it's just like this right now. And, you know, things are getting cleared in all areas. Things are getting freed and loved, and we're going to move from a different place. And it's very exciting.
Totally. I think we live in one of the most exciting time in history. It's going to be righteous, and it's all going to be very individual choices. So number one, it's like individual growth and ascension and consciousness and contribution and all that kind of stuff. And then the way that I like to imagine it is like, imagine like, you know, Star Trek or something, and they come and they see Earth. Like, as a species, maybe through our own fault, maybe not, no judgment here, we're a freaking embarrassment as a species. We suck terribly. We are killing each other, you know, it's because we're being controlled by a group of people, lots of people.
Which is also
whatever's happening.
Which is also the reflection of us, though. In other words, we asked for the polarity of them controlling us, you know?
Totally. And so
people pleaser, you'll only attract a taker, you know?
Yes, totally. Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that now, you know, when we come together and we are like a global humanity, like, you know, human being work together on this ball that's ours as one team, all the best in technology around the world work together for healing the planet and food. And it's like, it might be some sort of like magical thought, but to me, it just makes sense. Like, all of the smartest people work together to create like a humanity, you know, where we do work together, where we have simpler guidelines and we're all taken care of. But the exponential growth of technology and what's possible now is truly incredible. And I think that the younger generation, well, mine, and maybe not everybody thinks the way that I do, but I think people are cool with not having a mansion and 9 Ferraris. Like, I think most people are cool with just, you know, like maybe like a home and some space, and then not having to get up and sell your time, because you were saying that your awareness is your highest level of currency, which I love that. Your awareness and your choice. Like, how do you get up and spend your day? People wake up and then they go find money and they fall asleep, and then they wake up and they go find money like a freaking drone. And it's a bummer, because that's the system that we've accepted and defined for ourselves. So one of the things that you're doing at your workshops and people are trying to do, like, dude, just create your own definitions. You can still support your family and this, but what else? If you open this door a little bit, what else would you see for yourself? Because you've always been creating. And I kind of had this thought a couple of weeks ago when I was talking to my friend. I was like, it's so curious, because when you're 2, you know, 0 to 2, 2 to 4, you learn a new piece of information, and then all your old beliefs break. You know what I mean? Like, Santa Claus is not real. And you're like, oh my God, Santa Claus is not real. 7 to 9, same thing. You learn a new piece of information, then a whole just it fractals out. You're just kind of getting swooped underneath. Like, so then you get to like 15 or so, and then everybody that's your parent or whatever is like, you don't know everything, because you're starting to think for yourself and you're starting to kind of get it. Then you go through a little bit further, mid-20s, get some experiences, but in between 20 and 30, and then it gets worse beyond. For some reason, we feel like we've now had it. Now, why, if our belief systems and everything could change on a dime so much, and then all of a sudden, for 20 years, we're solid and we just know everything? So we have to have this like openness to be like, it's such a gift to know the truth. Whatever the hell that is, and you might not want to eat it, but you're like, dude, I'll just like eat this because this is the truth, you know? And then it just gets easier once you kind of deal with it.
100%, man. I mean, yeah, you have that right. You can feel when you do realize that, I mean, that's a big revelation that you're not your belief system. So there's nothing you believe that's you. Because if you believed one thing, I don't know if I said, I've done 2 interviews today, so I don't know if I said it here or on the last one, but if you believe one thing and then you believe another thing and you existed through both of them, then you're not your beliefs. If you existed through both beliefs. So you have nothing to defend, because when that belief goes away, you'll still be here. So you don't need to defend it. And you're not your body, because it changes all the time. and you're still existing through all of that. You can't be your body. I don't know what I am, but I know what I'm not. And I love not knowing what I am. And I love discovering what I'm not and keep shedding it. But yeah, that you can't unknow this. And I can feel that the world is everyone's going up a notch in some level. You're going from repression to anger. You're going from anger to sadness. You're going from, sadness to freedom. The sadness is a good thing, that's something I recommend to people all the time. There's two kinds of sadness we have. There's the repressed sadness. That is, I'm in a situation I don't want to be in, and I just feel bloated like that. If you're in a relationship, you should leave, and you just constantly think about it, and you just feel stuck. That sadness is the kind that makes you always feel full, like you're always just bloated and feel gross. And then there's the sad, yeah, but I'll lose that thing, I'll lose that person, I'll lose that job. And it's like this giant opening in your heart, and it's a bigger sadness, but it's a better one, because it's the one that now you're going to the gym and you're ready for a new life, And
Mm-hmm.
I always say, if you have two choices of sadness, always be in the second one. Be in that one that's letting yourself release, because you're never sad because you miss a person. It's you miss who you were at that time. You're releasing who you were at that time, and you're freeing yourself of that. And if that you're sad that you're letting go of that story of that you achieved this or whatever. And I really believe we were supposed to cry as much as we laugh, and I believe that we were supposed to cry as frequently as going pee. And a really big trick the systems got in place was to make us think if we're sad that we need pills or we have an issue. But that's like just saying you should only eat and never crap. And if this person wants to crap, we need to get them on Prozac immediately. No, that you need to release your old story and realize that you're not the story by shedding it and loving it. And it's amazing,
Yeah, man, totally. I like the way you're explaining. I'll have a few things there. So the way that I explain to people is like, okay, you got your body. I chop off your hand. Well, you're still you. So then you chop off your arm and then a foot, and then you got no limbs, and you're still you. Okay. Then you got your thoughts. So you're thinking these thoughts, and then they change, and then they change, and then they change. So then you're not your thoughts,
Right.
And then so you're not. Your beliefs is like form thoughts, and so you're not those. So then you're like, what the hell am I? Because you're not even your consciousness. Because what the hell is that? So only in this.
Well, people think, well, yeah, but if you cut off the head, then you're not there. You might be wrong.
Yeah.
If this isn't a part of you, if this can go away and you're still here, just because you're not hanging out anymore, doesn't mean you're just not in the five senses. That doesn't mean you're not still here. There's something beating the heart. What's doing? That's probably you, because you're not the past story, because it keeps changing and you can shed it and still be here. So.
And I think that's what it is. It's like we I think we're going through, like, as a humanity and individual, I kind of feel this, like I'm in the cocoon stage of becoming a butterfly. And where we are at a conscious level is something. What's that?
You feel butterfly to me, man.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
I'm in the cocoon and in denial that I'm not a butterfly.
Right. Yeah, man. So the gap, I think, is like between like a dog and like being conscious, like that leap. And it's this kind of limitation of self-imposed limitation of ego and thought and structure. And as we kind of pull these strings one by one, we're just going to go boom. And then we're going to like, holy shit, this is actually what's up. And it's just such a big gap now. We're just kind of transitioning to this awareness, right? Because, if you think about it on a smaller scale, kind of like you said when you were a kid about people laughing at your jokes, if you, condition a person to think that they're not beautiful and they're the most beautiful person you've ever seen, like physically, right? It's all conditioning. So where does that conditioning end? And what is the use, what the heck are we? Because it's all conditioned. A lot of it's coming from outside. And that's why the silence is so important, because you can actually listen and start looking, and you figure out what's mine, what's been imposed, what's serving me, what's limiting me. And it really comes back to love, like love for yourself and love for all things. And if you can get to that space, and it's like an emotion, it's like an energy, it's like, but it comes, and when you sit in that silence, that's when I have those times where I can just kind of feel it, like, you know, Mother Earth or spirit or something, and I have to leave myself. And the way that I say it is like, you have to forget everything that you think you are to become everything that you actually are. And there's no room for Matt Belair coming and being like, hey, this is great, or good job. It's like another level. And and I think that's kind of like, you know, where we're going. And I hope that, you know, as we kind of pick these things apart, we can become more of that, because once you feel it, you want that for someone else too. You know, that's all you want. You are not trying to harm them. You're not trying to take anything. It's such a competitive, you know, scarcity mindset, you know, and one truth, you know, why can't the world be flat and round at the same time? Like, why can't two belief systems at one, they might very well be true. You know what I mean? Like at the exact same time, like, you know, because I have a belief or a truth, it doesn't mean that yours is wrong. Like we can have, like, just have them, you know?
Right.
So it's like this, another, like, just things start to break away, you know, the old rules start to disappear, which is nice because it's more unlimited nature. And one of the things I wanted to ask, I was really curious about checking out a lot of your work, was the 100-day experiment, the 100-day self-connection experiment. That's a powerful title, and I think that's a very powerful thing to do. And this is like self-imposed medicine, you know? That's why I really love your work, and I love like what I hear you say. You know, I'm not a guru, like, you know, no one's a guru, man. And we're just like, I'm giving myself the medicine. I'm going to the gym. I'm trying to sort this out because I'm recognizing that there's an issue within me, you know, that I'm not what I actually am. And I'm, you know, forging, trying to figure this mother out. And as I figure shit out, that it gives me more love and limitness and peace and harmony, I will offer that to you and how I kind of did it. So maybe you want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, there was a moment last year where I was like, I just want to meditate 2 hours a day and make a video every day about what I'm discovering. And that changed my life completely. I mean, you can see it between episode 1 and episode 99, you know, whatever. There's a knowing that was embodied in that. And every day I also was blown away that I had 100 videos of all unique content of breakthroughs. I mean, every one of the books could have been, every one of those chapters or videos could have been a book. And it was amazing how many things I was discovering. And one thing I definitely will say that I also got from this is just a funny technical thing, but if you're going to do something new and transformative, do it for 3 months. Like, don't do it for a couple weeks, because you're going to fall apart in a couple. If it's really deep and transformative, you have to go through the cocoon, and the caterpillar's got to die through your staying with it. So when you, for me, I really respect everyone eating whatever they want. I wanted to go raw vegan once for 90 days. And the first month was hell, and really believing that you have to eat meat, you have to do this. And then the next month was like the greatest, like my body was only running on just to know how little mercury and hormones and stress and corpses I was eating, and how much, you know, not gluten and everything. And it just felt natural to be eating the stuff that was just off the trees. Well, it's like, at first, it's like when you quit smoking or quit drinking, like the first week is withdrawals and all this stuff. And so for me, meditation had a lot of old story withdrawals. It had a lot of achiever withdrawals. It had a lot of the unworthy guy withdrawals. And, you know, the first 15 days was great, but also had some sad moments in it, and then it was just like clearer and more faster, and the videos were coming through, and just every minute I was having a revelation. And, you know, I know that one thing I realized is I know that I speak a lot, and you do too, we talk, but you know what we're saying are things that haven't necessarily been brought to the world before. We're bringing revelations out of thin air into the world. And so I talk a lot, but it's about these things that might not have been on the planet before. To me, talking a lot means you're saying a lot of what already is. You're saying just like, Amber came into work yesterday and there was no ink in the pen, or you're saying, the football team won, like nothing there, like that's just saying what already has happened. You're just saying a thing. This conversation is always a discovery. Every sentence out of our mouth is a revelation. Like even that is, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And the videos that I made were always a holy shit, everyone, look at what this means. So anyone can see that. It's free. It just go on my website, the 100-day self-connection experiment. And then when I was done, I stopped for a while and I wasn't as fulfilled. So I was like, okay, I'm going a year now. So now I'm doing one a day for a year, and I'm doing 2 hours a day of meditation, and other limitations. I've limited my Facebook massively, and do these other things where it's just like it's about my connection to me, and it's making space for really magical stuff. Our team is planning to do a place like the Staples Center next year, which is in LA, a 18,000 seater, and we really realize that we can only make room for that by clearing out the unworthy stories and clearing out the old addictions and clearing out these things and making space for what wants to come through. Because the reason I'm excited to do an 18,000 seater is I'm so interested in what I'm going to become for it to be normal to fill an 18,000 seater. What will I become emotionally in my connection to myself? What will I feel? Not what will it be like to have 18,000 seater. It's what will I know for it not to be even exciting for that to happen, but for it to be normal, for that to be happening? And what will the world be like for that acceptance of that many people to come? And how many leaders will want to emerge from that? And how many Gandhis or Martin Luther Kings or Mother Teresa's are going to walk out of that place? And that's craziness. But these are all things that stem from doing the 100-day self-connection experiment and realizing I don't have to take on anything that doesn't fulfill me or call to my soul. I don't do anything but what I want to do. And sometimes I'll go away for 3 weeks and go to a cabin, and there's a place in the city called Monterey, and Wayne Dyer did a movie called The Shift at a place called Asilomar, and I go there all the time, and I sit there and do what feels like it's not productive, but turns out to be the most productive thing you can do ever. I made a video recently called Become as Bored as Possible. And I don't mean bored like you're scrolling through Facebook to stop your boredom. I mean, let yourself sit and be as bored as possible. Because if you're capable of becoming bored, that means an old story view is going to break apart and you're going to connect to what you are in that place, in that space. If you're bored, that means you're blocking yourself from receiving the infinite information that wants to come through you. So I'm for that. And I'm about that. And that's what happened with the thing. It's like, I'm being productive doing nothing. I'm more productive doing nothing than working 8 hours a day at a job, even if it paid me $1 million an hour. It's not, my soul's not for sale, period. And that's what we got to do. Make our soul not for sale. And it's actually weirdly worth more than all that anyway.
That is an extremely beautiful quote, man. I love that. And your soul is your time, right? Like, why the hell do you the 8 hours, 40 hours a week is all definitions of nonsense. Why the hell do I have to sign up for that? Like, I think it's a Wayne Dyer, or if it's not Han, or one of them is like, I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being. Like, just be. Like, if I want to go, I've considered this a few times, just literally go on to India and be like, am I going to be the guy that like just sits in a cave? And I was like, consider it. I'm like, like I do stints. So like 3-4 months, sometimes a month. I did like 5 months. My first one was 5 months or so in koala habitat. And I just read, wrote, meditated, and just was with myself. And so each year, at least a month, I try to go somewhere super quiet and it's just myself. And yeah, we have a massive problem with boredom for sure. Kids, you're always looking to distract, and then the distraction is basically, I love how you put it with receiving, in distraction. If you're not feeling total love and peace and just being bored, then you got some work to do. You know what I mean?
Just stay bored, because that'll fall apart. Like, don't go, I'm bored and get on Facebook. Just stay there. Let yourself get bored and miserable and feel like crap. and then watch it just collapse in front of you, and you'll be,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, man. Beautiful. I totally agree. Well, I could talk to you all day. I know we've been going for an hour. I don't know what kind of schedule you got. I probably had.
There's stuff I got to bounce now pretty soon, but I appreciate you, man. And I love the level of the conversation, and the work that you're doing on yourself shows, because as you keep connecting to yourself, the higher awareness you allow yourself to be, the higher awareness you can spot in others, right? And people don't understand that you start to really align with people in that place, and it's really wonderful to find other people in that, because it gives you permission to do that and not feel like you have to do it completely alone too, you know. So good work, man.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole point of this is just like finding people, and you don't have to achieve anything or do anything or be anything. It's really simple. It's like, I want to be human, and I want to know myself, and I want to be kind to others, and I want to grow, and I want to be of service. And we all have this unique expression of who we are. And ideally, I want to uncover that fully for myself. And in uncovering that, it's always of service. There's no other way. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're in harmony with Mother Earth. We're in harmony with Spirit. We're in harmony with ourselves. And we're in harmony with plants, animals, trees, and people. And that alignment feels really good. And it's nice when you see someone else is just like, hey, bro, like, you trying? Yeah, I'm trying, dude. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, how's it working out? It's like, last month was tough. You're not going to lie, but, you know, I'm doing better now.
More and more, man, you're going to start seeing it. It's going to, I think in 10 years, it'll be everyone, you know, it's just going to, it has to tip, you know. Oh, could I plug, by the way, the event that I do? Because I'd love to have people.
Of course, I was just going to say, yeah, if we got to shut up, you got to give all your plugs, Twitter, Facebook. Awesome. Yeah, and I'll give you my own plug. I looked at what you do for coming to the event and how inexpensive it is. And it's funny because I'm trying to figure out a model for Zen Athlete. My goals is to raise the consciousness of the planet by popularizing the mental game of sport. Like in my big program, I've got guided meditation, and I teach you meditation. Guided visualization, I teach you visualization. Guided hypnosis, and I teach you hypnosis. Freaking awesome. Yeah. And it's like, it's so ahead of its time, but so behind the times at the same time. I'm like, how is this not normal? Like, you guys should know this.
Yes.
But I'm figuring, I don't care about money. How can I get 100% people? You want to learn this, do it. And you're kind of like in that same zone. So what I'm going to do is, like, the CD will be whatever the price is. Like, dude, this is a $14.99, $29.99. This is the value. If you can't afford it, or you just want to be a wiener, pay me what you want. Just as long as it's $1, you know, you can have it. And I get the exact same sense of what you're doing. It's like, you know, if you think and feel like this can serve you, which the way that, like, from what I've learned from you today, from all of your videos and all this stuff, I can tell the level that you're at and how you're able to bridge those gaps. And I've heard it said before that you can only take people 2 levels of awareness up or down. And I believe that you, and there are other people, and I'd like to think that I can almost do this, but I'm able to watch people and bring them from like 1, 2, or 3 levels. And it's taking a belief system and breaking it. You know, if you're but, like, break each individual one to the thing that's like, okay, let's connect with what you really are. And I truly believe that with your 2-day things that you can make massive change for a lot of people. I can see that. So plug away.
Yeah. Oh, we do. So we do this event called Evolving Out Loud, and it's a 2-day event. It takes place in a 1,400 seat theater. They've all been sold out. This next one coming up, we have some tickets left. It's August 20th and 21st in Glendale, California. Get on a plane, no matter where you are, and come to this. People come from all over the world. Last event, we had people from, in past events, we've had Nova Scotia, Australia, Philippines, Israel. Like, just they come in from everywhere. And it's 2 days of you accessing yourself. Like, people hear this interview, and then if it felt good, if you feel 1% better about your possibilities, imagine being a room immersed in your greatness with 1,400 other people that are like this. And the event is a combination of transformation and comedy. I'm a comic, and I'm on this stage in a 1,400 seater, bridging comedy and transformation, and it's all from the heart. And day one, they get there, and you end up discovering how many of the beliefs that you've been walking around with are not true. And then day 2, now that we're all in our heart, we start building on that. And then we have a way that you figure out how to keep doing the work more. And then we hold you accountable. We actually call people after they leave the event and check in on them. And we have every person that came pretty much. It's just crazy, like, change of into what they actually are. And you're supported in your greatness. You know, we live in a world that doesn't support you in your greatness. They support you in your failure. They support you in your depression. When you're sad, people are there for you. When you're successful, they're jealous or angry or whatever. This room supports you in your calling. And your soul will be pulled, and a light will be shining on all of you. But the soul will be so loud. And no matter where you are, if you're in a full place of anxiety, in addiction, or if you're in just a thriving and you're ready to go farther, this event is the most fun, effortless, time-moving way to do it. And we, you know, at the door, the tickets are like $500, but we always offer our friends, and we have a way that we just tell people, if you want to come for $99 for both days, which is just covering our costs of having a giant expensive theater and 80 employees and, you know, all that stuff. It's $99 if you want to come. And if you want to do that, you can sign up at evolvingoutloud.com or kylecease.com, and the code word, just type where it says it's like $300 or whatever, where it says code, you know, passcode or whatever, they make it cheaper. Type in the word grandma, and GRANDMA, grandma, and it's suddenly $99. And that's like $5 an hour for transformation for 2 days. And you will transform like you wouldn't believe. It is an immersion. It's an immersion, and it's so fun and it's so funny. And I say this because I truly don't think there's anything more fulfilling or exciting on the planet. It's weird to be the one saying it, but it is so the real thing. The comic in me calls the BS out and everything too, you know, and it's about what you are. It's infinite, and it's amazing. And then, you know, you can, I'm on Facebook. There's 2 pages. Go to the fan page. I actually respond to that one faster than my personal page. Go there, facebook.com/KyleCease page, twitter.com/KyleCease, and check out evolvingoutloud.com because, or YouTube. There's, I probably have, I don't know, 500 videos on there. And some are comedy sketches. Last year we made some real leaps from our hearts, and we ended up getting about 50 million views on our videos. And you know, there's some that are comedy sketches. There's a sketch we made called How Enlightened Families Argue, and it's like a family at Thanksgiving arguing, but if they had like Byron Katie or Wayne Dyer knowledge, so they're taking responsibility while they're accusing each other. And we did another sketch recently. Check out Meditation Olympics, which is like if the meditation was an Olympic sport. It is so funny, like a competitive Olympic sport. If meditation was a competitive sport, at that. And then there's a ton of others. And so check it out and just let yourself go, because there's all kinds of stuff. And I'm just thankful for you and people listening to this, and hope that it helped them open their heart more. And just telling you, if you feel a calling in you, to anyone watching this, just do it and don't even ask why. The why is in the doing of it. And all the reasons why you think you can't are all the reasons why you have to. I got to make this leap, but you know, I have kids. Make the leap so that your kids learn that they can give themselves permission too. I got to do this, but I can't afford it. Do it so that you realize why you and your calling will learn how to make more money. I got to do this, but my parents won't approve. That's why you have to do it, so you can prove to yourself that need for their approval is a lie. So that, in that doing it, you will do so much for the world. And I say that to people too about our event. Please come to our event. If you're not coming, that's because your mind can only measure what you will lose, and it can't measure what you will gain. And you won't believe what you'll gain. It's amazing. It's 2 days, so well lived, and it's so much fun. So evolvingoutloud.com. Next one's August 20th and 21st. Seriously, do something different with your life, and it'll pay for itself over and over and over again.
I love it, man. Yeah, it's you know, the one thing I was going to add on that is I haven't been to one, but I've been to things like Burning Man, Lightning in a Bottle. There's like transformational festivals. There is a massive, massive power in community. and being around like-minded people and support you. It's like this whole energetic firing. Like you've had your whole life of like limitation of like, this is what you should do, friends' beliefs, cultural beliefs, whatever. But when you go to an experience and people are really supporting you and you're really vetting like from your heart, like and a lot of people aren't even comfortable. There's so many people I ask them like, what do you want to do? If you were infinite, if you could do anything, if you had all the money, what would you do? And like, I don't know. Well, we start there and we crack and open that up, you know, and then you have people supporting you in different ways, and you're now getting feedback and mirroring from different people and different ways of life. And then holy shit, now you have tools and things like that. And then you might meet like 3 or 4 or 5 people. Like one of my goals is just to travel and speak at conferences and festivals, because it's the best people. I just 2 days well lived. Like I would just want to go. Like that's all I want to do. Hop around, go to your event. What, you know, who else is doing one? Hey Matt, this guy's doing one. You know, you're gonna get like, maybe you just meet 2 people and they're become your business partner or whatever. But it's supportive and it's a different way of thinking. And then the challenge is we got to go back, live in our cultures, in our communities, in our families, and we are thinking differently. You know what I mean? And so then that's really challenging. So people are always like, well, how do you maintain this? Just maintain your own truth. And now you've become this kind of beacon of light for something that's different from what their box or boundaries are. And now they can see it. So then, but you've got your homie over here, got Matt in Canada, Kyle, you know, over here, and be like, no, like you're doing it. Trust me, you're okay. Like you got it, you know, it's going to be okay. So power of community, man. I think it's going to be amazing. And there's a very, very high chance that I'll be there too in the crowd, and maybe you'll meet me. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Done. Okay, done. Coming.
Yeah. I got tickets for you. We'll have great seats for you, man. We love it.
Awesome, bro. Oh, yeah, cool, brother. Well, I appreciate you. Like, let me acknowledge you and your work. Just amazing stuff, man. Very authentic, putting in the work, no guru complex, no bullshit. It's just like, I'm sorting out myself and I'm sharing, you know, everybody, let's get on board. So thank you for all your work and your contribution to the planet and your way of thinking and all that, man. Mad love for you, brother.
Thank you, man. So much love, man. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
Very welcome. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for walking. We'll see you. You got one more comment?
Hey, do we say hi after that for a second? I know that they're seeing this. Or do I say, okay, bye, and actually hang up?
I hang up, so we're still going. So you can say bye one more time.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if I'll say cool, man, and then you'll stop recording and be like, okay, that was great, and be like, sure, it's such good comment, but like, yeah, or if I'll just say, okay, bye, and then I'll still.
You can end it. Yeah, I have the button on my side though, because it's my show. So if you'd like to end it, I'll push the button after. Then you and I will say bye after.
Awesome. I'm good either way. I need to go because there's so many calls that I got to do after this now. But I'm thankful for you, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, buddy. Okay, everybody. Thanks. See you, brother. Thank you so much.
Bye everyone.